girls and boys, or how do you say it? Ghouls? What's the boy one?
I think we said ghouls and booze.
That's cute. I'm a ghoul.
Also, you're probably not going to see this in October. We're ahead. Don't worry about it.
Oh no! This is the past. Welcome to the past.
Yeah, you're gonna.
What if you know something that we don't?
You're gonna get
like,
a hello.
You guys don't even understand what this is before. This was in the long, long ago. They don't even know what happens on October 15th. Nicole's pregnant now.
I would be very concerned.
You know, 6 weeks from now, I'm pregnant.
Yeah, I'd be deeply concerned.
That might be fun, though.
What are you planning on reading this week, you crazy woman?
What to expect when you're expecting. No, I'm going to read... Can you reach that with the paperback? I'm going to read The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston? Is that how you say that?
I would assume it's cursive and I'm dyslexic.
Yeah, I'm going to read this, which is about a woman, she's a grown woman who is a ghostwriter for a very popular author. It's like, it's that thing where like, oh, it's an author's name, but like they haven't written for that in a long time, so it's ghostwriter. She's secretly a ghostwriter, and her editor doesn't know, and he's a bit of a stick in the mud, and then she gets called to come home to where her family lives, and they work in a mortuary. It's like a dead person funeral house. That's where they work, and she's there, and she's like, oh, SpaghettiOs. My life's not working out. I'm very sad. And then her mean old editor shows up as a ghost, and she's like, bro, you're friggin' dead. And he's like, oh, that sucks. And then they fall in love, and that's what the book is. And that's what I'm going to be reading this week. And then I'm also going to be reading what's on that pile, which is The Flashpoint Paradox.
This has no right to be this floppy.
I know, that's honestly, I was holding it, I was like, oh, she's floppy. Flashpoint Paradox by,
we've been sitting here so long.
I'm such an idiot. Jeff Johns, right? Jeff Johns wrote this.
Yes.
Reading this, and then I'm also, so far, reading Batman Arkham Killer Croc. These are the things I'm starting my week on. I'm doing a new thing, which you saw in the last vlog, where I recorded that one. But I'm just going through and I'm picking books from my cursed TBR. Let me show you her.
We should put Spectre on the page, and wherever she pees, that's the next thing you read.
Yeah, except there's glitter all over this. But this is my cursed TBR. These are all the comics that I have that I haven't read, the ones not crossed off. So I'm going on my shelf and I'm picking the ones I haven't read, and I'm crossing them off, and that's what I've been doing. And there's also, these are the books proper that I haven't read that I own, that I need to read. It's a lot, and I haven't counted them, and I'm very ashamed. So my other plans, I'm going to read Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. And I'm going to read Nona the Ninth by
Tamsin
Muir. Because I have it at the library, and I love Gideon the Ninth. And that's all I know for sure. What are you doing, friend? Here, let me flop this.
I don't know.
You don't know?
Because I'm currently reading a J.R. Ward for a different video, and then I have Pet Sematary for a different video. So I'm going to cut those with other things, so I don't remember what's in my library.
I'm about to have Pet Sematary. Spoiler, if I'm assuming this will go out before that, we're going to do Pet Sematary for our next Stephen King book. We're going to be watching the movies. Although, I don't know what we're going to do with pets. Are we going to watch Pet Sematary? Is that part of our...
It's not part of... Oh, no, it is part of our thing.
What's unfortunate that you're not going to see this till probably November when I'm pregnant is we're doing 31 Nights of Halloween, where we... in my handy dandy notebook... Do you get the reference? Do you know what a handy dandy notebook is?
Of course they do.
Do you know what a handy dandy notebook is? We're doing our 31 Nights of Halloween, where every night she's going to shuffle into my bedroom. We're going to watch them together. And I have to pick from this list, because there's numbers, but we don't know what's what. And I got to pick one of these that we're going to watch. The Guest? I don't know. Dan Stevens blowing up a diner. Pretty sexy, if I'm being honest. I don't like that that's how I feel, but that's how I feel. And if you saw it, you'd feel that way too, regardless of your sexual preference.
This is going to be an unhinged vlog.
We've never done that before.
We'll see you next clip.
Oh, is that it? Bye.
All right. I am starting... I'm reading a bunch this week, but a lot of it's for other videos. So I'm starting Mind Possessed by Nalini Singh. These titles are so bad. That's Mosquito Bite. Yep, Mosquito Bite. But yeah, I don't know much about it. It's the fourth in the Side Changeling series. I'm hoping that as they get longer, they get a little bit more in depth with like the emotions and stuff, because that's kind of the whole point. Ma'am, I am trying to record. She listened. So yeah, hopefully I enjoy this one more than the other. I'll get back to you in a bit. I'm continuing with Mind to Possess. I really hate these titles. But yeah, I'm continuing with it. I'm enjoying it okay so far. It's still better than the first two, about on par with the third one at this moment, sorry. My only issue with it so far is the main female character, I don't remember her name. The main female character came from a foster family that abused her sexually, and she, in her teenage years, guys, they're on the phone, guys. And in her teenage years, she was a little promiscuous as like a result of trauma. And my issue with that is that the discussions around this sometimes are good, in my opinion, but sometimes she's chewing on the phone. But sometimes it verges on like slut shaming, which coming from her doesn't bother me so much, because like how she views herself. I'm sorry for how shaky this is. Sunny is literally about to climb my phone. Coming from her, it's fine, because like the way she views herself doesn't bother me. It's the other people around her that kind of bother me a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna end this clip. Just know that was my point. That's why I opened the clip. Sunny, please.
Hi. So, I have an incredibly busy week, and I'm continuing to have busy weeks. So, I apologize for all of my angles being the exact same, but I'm going to talk about all the books I've read this week. Are you good? I'm going to talk about all the books I've read this week, right now, right here at this angle, because I don't want to really break the tripod out to do this, and I don't want to sit on the floor. So, okay, let's start with what I began my week with, a quick couple easy reads. I read Batman Arkham Killer Croc, and one of my favorites, I reread Flashpoint Paradox by Jeff Jones, I believe. This is various writers. I'll talk about this first because this is what I read first. This is Killer Croc Stories Through the Years from... Are you good? This is Killer Croc Stories Through the Years from, I believe, his first appearance to just some of the more recent ones that he has. There's a couple really good stories in here and a lot of, like, okay ones. It was fine. If you like Killer Croc a lot, I would definitely recommend this. They have these for most of the big Batman villains. I also have the Penguin one. And who else? Mr. Freeze. Obviously, Mr. Freeze. I love Mr. Freeze. They have one for the Joker, Harley, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Scarecrow. Almost all the big Rogues Gallery people. They even have one for Julia Dent, which is weird. That's the Joker's daughter, but she's actually, I think, Harvey's daughter. It's weird. It's very complicated. But they have these for most of the villains, and also Alfred. I don't know if they have any more This is like Arkham, and then there's Allies, and it has Alfred, but I haven't ever seen another one with Allies, unfortunately. I'm hoping, I would love it if they did a Damian Wayne one, because he's my favorite, but whatever. Anyway, so this is okay. These are also really hard to get a hold of. So if you're into physically collecting comics, like you can't really get the Poison Ivy, Scarecrow one or Two-Face because they're out of print, and comics are a little difficult. If you want a comic, don't hesitate buying it because it might just go away forever. I've bought comics that were brand new that were out of print like a couple months later. My Superman Omni I have over there of Rebirth I bought, and then like a couple months later it was totally unavailable, which sucks, but not for me. Anyway, this was okay. It has a pretty good story in it. The best story in this is actually in the Joker's Asylum bind-up, which is a reprint of volumes 1 and 2 of Joker's Asylum, which is a short story for each villain. But they put both of them together because they went out of print, and they're coming out with, in December, all of them together in a trade with one story from each of these. It has the best Penguin one and the best Killer Croc one. So I I would suggest that if you're a big fan of the Batman villains. It's a good little read. It's cool to see the beginning. We have like old school art and then like this newer stuff. It's just a good time, you know? Okay, moving on. We have Flashpoint Paradox, which is an old favorite of mine. Are you making noise? This is an old favorite of mine. The premise is that Barry Allen, the Flash, accidentally makes a new timeline where his mother didn't die. Actually, I don't know if it's an accident. Ignore that squeaking. They're okay. So he's in this alternate timeline where his mother never died. She was murdered by the Reverse Flash. And he's not married to Iris. Bruce Wayne is dead, and instead of him as Batman, it's Thomas Wayne, which is actually one of my favorite things of all time in comics is Thomas Wayne from this. I won't spoil it. That was actually probably a spoiler. But this is pretty old, so if you don't know, I'm really sorry. But that's my favorite element of it. It's hard to talk about this and why I loved it without talking about my favorite bits. But it's Barry trying to get back to his current timeline. And it's him, there's this alternate Gotham with, like, I think Penguin is mayor and stuff like that. And it's really great. And the story that I actually love the most is written by an author that I hate. Brian Azzarello, I think is how you say his name. He did that Joker story where he sexually assaults someone and Harley's a stripper and she has a Y incision scar because that's edgy and cool, and I hate it. I hate edgelord stuff like that, as you probably already know. But he actually did a really good story with Thomas Wayne as Batman, and you can't get that trade paperback anymore. You can only get it digitally and in the Omni for this, which has like a ton of other stories. This is obviously really small. The Omni is, I think, 1,500 pages. I haven't read it because Omnis are really expensive, but I would highly recommend Flashpoint. I love alternate timeline stuff, especially when it gets fixed. This has an ending that's like one of my favorite endings of all time in any comic book. Thank you for the kisses, Spectre. But yeah, I don't want to spoil too much of that. They have a movie of it too. I haven't seen the movie. I don't typically like the movie cartoon things because I think the animation is bad. And sometimes they just totally blow it. Like they did, what's the Civil War one with DC? Injustice. And they messed up everything. And they also did Hush and messed up everything. And yeah, so I'm getting bitten / kissed by my children right now. Anyway, 5 stars to Flashpoint. I have loved it for many years and I will love it the rest of my life. It's just fun seeing alternate versions, which is also why I like the Batman Who Laughs Dark Knight Rising story, because it's alternate universe Bruce Wayne's. And there's like an Aquaman one and a Flash one, and it's really neat and also like kind of scary, but like in a chill way. So that's a side recommendation.
Still reading Mind to Possess. I might actually DNF it and give up because it just really bugged me what just happened. Essentially, the main male character is very upset that she slept around, and he keeps saying that she had no right to hurt herself like that, or that she had kept, it's basically that kind of thing. It's like she hurt herself, she had no right to hurt herself like that. And he ends it with saying she had no right, the last thing he said is she had no right to hurt what belonged to him. She had no right to sleep around because she belongs to him. And I really dislike that, considering she was abused. Even if she hadn't been abused, that wouldn't be cool, and I would be very annoyed, but since she was abused, it's also disgusting. Like, I might DNF, because that just takes a step too far for me, and I'm not enjoying it enough to not DNF because of that. So, yeah. I really disliked that. Out of pure curiosity, I started Bitten by Kelly Armstrong, which I have read before, once, 11 years ago. You know, I was hoping I'd vibe with it this time around, because like I've always hated Elena. I hated her the first time I read it. I hated her in every subsequent book she's been in. I just hate Elena. And I was just like, maybe I'll feel different, because like I like most of the other female characters. I like Paige, I like Jamie, I like Savannah's a little irritating, but Sailor's on my phone. But otherwise she's fine. So I thought, maybe I'll like Elena this time. I like everyone else. Sailor, I hate her. She's so insufferable. She's so annoying. She's so selfish and immature. And my God, what an annoying character. It's,
Okay. This one I'll probably talk the most about. This is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I think this is a debut, but I just read this. The premise is a woman who is ghostwriting for a very famous romance author, think like Nora Roberts-y kind of level. She ghostwrites for her. She gets called back home because her father died. They owned a mortuary, and she can see ghosts, hear ghosts, just like her father could, just the two of them, I believe. And she goes home because he died. And when she's home, her editor shows up dead. Her editor does not know she is the ghostwriter for these books, by the way. He thinks that she's just the assistant. So he shows up as a ghost, and she's like, why are you here? I don't like you. We had a big old fight the last time we saw each other. And romance ensues. So I was a little hesitant, because it's like, okay, he's a ghost. How is he going to be the love interest? Because that means no touching, and, you know, if he's dead, surely the ending's going to be sad, and there's no way in hell she's going to die and become a ghost so they could be together, because that would be, like, too much of a bummer for a fun little romance book. And it does have a good resolution. You could probably guess, because I actually guessed it pretty early on, because what else are you going to do? So if you're worried about that, happy ending. Perfectly happy ending. Not even like a cheating kind of like Jane from the Black Dagger Brotherhood, where she's dead, but she can still feel stuff, so it's okay, but it's not great. No, this is just a happy ending. So if that's, yeah, don't let that stop you. But I actually really enjoyed this. I wouldn't say it's very funny. I don't really laugh at rom-coms. It takes a lot for me to genuinely be amused, and like, not that I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm super hard to please. I'm not. I just don't laugh out loud at stuff. Like, I don't find a lot of the stuff that's supposed to be funny, because sometimes it's cringy. But anyway, this was cute though. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's like him dealing with the fact that he's dead. He's like kind of coming to terms with it, and then she's coming to terms with losing her father, who she was really close with. And her ex-boyfriend, she's jilted because her ex-boyfriend, who's also a writer, stole her life, basically. She tried to tell him that she could see ghosts, but she kind of chickened out after it. And after she said it, she's like, oh, actually, it's just like a story I'm working on. And she was telling him stories about when she was a kid, as if it was part of the story she was coming up with to write. And then he decided, oh, she'll never write that. And he stole it. And then he made like a ton of money off of it. That's the only part that bothers me. Mild spoilers. He gets like $1 million deal with this amazing, beautiful, real writing book. Like, I hate that. Like, romance doesn't count. She's a romance writer, and he like was mean to her because she just writes romance. But he writes a real book that's like, oh, it's beautiful prose. I hate beautiful prose. I think they're lame. I'm not going to enjoy a book just because it was written pretty. Like, you can't fool me, okay, with your pretty fancy words. Victoria Schwab. Doesn't matter how well you structure the sentence if I don't care about the people in your book. Anyway, yeah, so he writes like genre fiction. His $1 million deal, stole her ideas. He faces zero comeuppance, which, like, well, I guess not zero. She punches him. That's not good enough for me. Mama wants cold hard cash. I wanted him to get outed or something, but that didn't happen. He just gets to be rich and famous for the rest of his life, stealing her life to make a book. And I hate that. That sucked. It didn't make me like knock stars down or anything. I still overall really enjoyed this. I'm glad I bought it. I've been trying to only buy books that I've read, and I bought this randomly at the store because it's got a ghost in it, and I love anything spooky. So you can really win me over with, I want more spooky rom-coms that aren't about witches, please. Because you know what? Anytime someone tries to do a fun, spooky romance book, they make them witches. And I think it's because a witch is still human, so you can get with a human and it won't be a big deal. Like if you're with a vampire, then it's all just like, oh my God, they have to become a vampire because otherwise they're going to get old and die. And if they're a werewolf, it's like, oh no. Werewolf, witch is fine. Witch is clean. You could be a witch and you can not affect your spouse's life. Look at Bewitched with Samantha and Darren. I just rewatched the movie with Will Ferrell and Nicole Kidman. Me and Sarah watched it, and guess what? It was dope. It held up. I loved it. But give me rom-coms with spooky monsters. Like, I want like a super whimsy world, like what the X-Hex tried to be. No offense. But with all kinds of monster mash. That's what I want. I want a monster mash. I want a graveyard smash. Give me... Oh, smash also means sex.
So I'm continuing with Bitten by Kelly Armstrong. And my God, Elena is still annoying the crap out of me. What's the really sucky thing is some of the stuff she's being annoying about are justified and stuff that I'd like to discuss. But because she is so annoying, it makes all of her arguments unreasonable because she's not acting like a reasonable person. She's just being a selfish, argumentative, annoying person. And I can't stand it. It's like, yeah, you have justification for feeling the way you do, but you're being a bitch. Like, straight up, you don't care about if anyone else dies. You don't care about if people who have been kind to you are hurt. You don't care about anything but your own wants. And it's so... And the way she goes about it is just, like, irritating. She's supposed to be in her, like, late 20s, but she's acting like a 16-year-old. And I cannot stand it. So I finished Bitten yesterday. I gave it 3 stars. The thing with Kelly Armstrong is I find a lot of her characters really annoy me because they usually are extremely selfish, and I am not one who likes unlikable main characters. I prefer them to be not dicks, personally. Weird, I know. But I finished it. I gave it 3 stars because the thing with Kelly Armstrong is her books are incredibly readable. They just... I wouldn't say her writing's, like, beautiful or anything, but it does suck you in really easily. So, 3 stars. And now I'm going to start Hobbs Bargain by Patricia Briggs. I've read all of her more traditional fantasy already, but it's been, I don't even know, 10 years? Something like that. I remember really liking the Hobbs Bargain, so I want to see if I still like it because I haven't reread it, and I am someone who frequently unhauls, so when I reread, there's always that in the back of my mind. I don't think I'll end up unhauling it though because it's Patricia Briggs. So
Next I read Middle Game by Shauna McGuire, and she has complained about the fact that they broke this up into 2 words when it is in fact 1 word. I don't really want to hold this book the entire time I'm talking, so I'm not going to. The premise is Roger and Dodger were made like in a lab. They're alchemists, which I never really got a firm grasp on what they do or why. The book is a little hard to follow and a little boring. I like Shauna McGuire for the most part. I have a lot of her books. I have the entirety of the Wayward Children series, which I adore every book that takes place in the current day, not keen on the flashbacks. For some reason, the only one I like is Down Among the Sticks and Bones, which is like a Frankenstein kind of book, and it's wonderful. Like, hold on, let me look. Look at this cover. That's a sick cover. That's a sick title. Beautiful. Every Heart a Doorway. Great. Highly recommend it. Very whimsical. This is the first shonen that I've read that is not that. I thought it was okay. So it's like going through... Thank you for biting me. It's going through the years of these kids' lives. They don't quite know that they're siblings at first. Figure it out. It's like starts when they're little tiny kids and teenagers and adults and like later years in their adults, and there's like stuff happening. It goes with her Deborah something books that she wrote, these little kid novellas. I haven't read those, so it's a little confusing. If you think, oh, Nicole's not explaining this great. It's because I can't and I won't, so I'm sorry. But take it or leave it. Yeah, so anyway, horribly confusing. Not in a dope way, in an undope way. What's the opposite of dope? Undope. That's what we're going with. Yeah. So like undopely, I spent 18 hours of my life reading this. I don't care. I don't care. It's a trilogy. I don't care. I feel bad because Sarah's parents got me this for Christmas last year. Only for me to be like, on it. I like Sean McGuire as a writer, specifically. Can I just, I'm tall and then short, and I fit better in the camera when I crouch. Is this good content? Anyway, yeah. So, Sean McGuire also does science fiction under Mira Grant. And I haven't tried that because I hate science fiction. I'm not going to add to that. I hate science fiction. So I haven't read it. She has a lot of like sick things, like contagion-y kind of things. And as a person who is living through COVID, that has less appeal to me than it did. Like, leave me alone with that. I don't want to deal with it. So I thought this would be safe because it's under Sean McGuire. It was just boring. There's 2 more books in the series. The 3rd one's about to come out. Hello, Grant, my beautiful baby. My rotten soldier. It was just meh. And I can't really explain more of the story because there's not really a story for a lot of it. It's kind of the kids falling together and falling apart a bunch of times because they're being manipulated by the lab that like grew them, and they can cause trouble like in Hancock when they get together. There's big boom. I can't say I recommend it. I definitely recommend all of these. I unless you really like being bored, don't pick this up. I guess if you really love Sean McGuire, but I just didn't feel like there was anything worth reading in this. Like, I don't think anything will stick with me from it, except for maybe the character names, which are Roger and Dodger. It's like, some of the other kids are Aaron and Darren. It's like, haha, okay, cool, yeah, your book's good, I guess, because you came up with silly names. I'm just being unnecessarily mean. I do like Sean McGuire. I have like 7 of her books right over here. So, what a boring conclusion to a bunch of boring check-ins. I don't know how this is going to go. I'm not really reading much else. I did start Nona the Ninth by an author whose name I can't pronounce, unfortunately. It's the Gideon the Ninth series. I started that one, but I don't have a copy, so I can't hold it up. And I'm only halfway through it, and I don't have much to say about it, and there's not much I can say because of spoilers. So I'm reading that, and reading other things that have nothing to do with anything I could do here. But I'm going to try and check in more times. I also have the new Star Wars by Beth Davis, I believe. The Han Solo Leia book where they get married. I'm reading that. It's fine. I don't have anything to say other than like Ewoks help plan the wedding, and I think that's funny. So I hope you've enjoyed me standing overexposed light over here while my rats bite me. I don't have anything valid or worthwhile to say ever, but especially right now. It's very late at night. I think it's 3:30 in the morning. Every time I do this late at night, I get worried that Sarah's gonna like get up to use the bathroom and hear me talking to myself and like not know what I'm doing because she's sleepy, and I'm just gonna look like a weirdo. Then again, she's known me since I was 17, so she's probably got some kind of inkling that I'm a weirdo. But if not, I'd like to maintain that mystique for a little while longer. If you have stayed for all of this talking, thank you, and I'm sorry.
So I finished The Hobbs Bargain by Patricia Briggs. I never told you guys what that was about. That was a high fantasy about a girl. Sorry, there's rats everywhere. About a young woman who has the gift of sight, and she's living in a village that that doesn't like prejudiced against mages, basically. And her husband dies, and there's another mage that's gonna come, and Hex is looking at the phone. and chewing on the phone and looking is gonna come and essentially take out the village. So she makes a bargain with a hob, which is a supernatural creature, and the bargain is that he will help them if she marries him, basically, and it was fine. I've moved on to Up from the Grave, guys. I've moved on from to Up from the Grave by Janine Frost, and I will update you later. As an aside, I really hate the phrases feminine appreciation or male appreciation, because of the implication that, well, it's a woman looking at a man, therefore it's feminine appreciation, or it's a man looking at a woman, therefore it's male appreciation. Like, gay people exist, and so do trans people, and non-binary people, so maybe don't narrow things down so much. It's uncool. I'm still in the middle of Up from the Grave, and this is one of the ones I really don't like. Again, Up from the Grave is about it's the last Cat and Bones book, so it's, in case you don't know, Cat and Bones is about a vampire hunter, essentially, who falls in love with a vampire, and their adventures. And this one suffers really badly from last book syndrome, or also it can be applied to series as last series syndrome, where it's just like stating everything that's happened so we remember because it's the last book. I don't care. I read it. I know. I don't need to hear it again. I don't need to hear for the 6th book in a row about how Bones helped her learn not to be prejudiced. I get it. I don't need it. Please stop. Oh, baby. No, come here. Come back. Show everyone that you're a sweet little ratty. Is your sister scaring you by pushing those out of the cubby? I agree, that's very rude. Anyway, I originally gave this a 3, and I think I'm going to lower it down to a 2, because Janine Frost does this thing with all of her series, and it's annoying, to say the least. Sorry, I had to fix something. Where the men will do something to get the woman's honest reaction, and then later when the woman is deeply traumatized and upset, the men basically say, well, it's your own fault. You should have trusted me more, or you should have talked to me before making this plan, or what have you, and it really, really grates on my nerves. It's so annoying to read, and obviously Janine Frost does it so that, like, to up the tension, but it's not real tension, because, like, she does it so often that all of us know that it's not real, so she's just doing it to make the men abusive, basically, because it is abuse. You're tormenting your wife to punish her. That is abuse. Alright, I'm also going to read Dark Fever by Karen Marie Manning. I've read the first book in this series many years ago, and I remember nothing, so it's kind of like I'm reading it for the first time again. But I just need to get through some of my Audible books before they really start to pile up, so I'm doing both library and Audible right now. Dark Fever is about a girl or young woman, I'll say. I actually don't remember her age, so she might just be like a woman, not young woman, but I can't remember. Anyway, who takes a trip to Ireland and discovers there's fae. I don't remember much from it. I remember that she had a interesting personality, and the reason I didn't continue with the series is because it's hinted that she might get raped later, and I, at the time, was deeply exhausted with that kind of thing, and I'm still exhausted with that kind of thing, but I can handle it, I think. So, yeah. I'm definitely gonna finish Up from the Grave today. I'm definitely moving it down to a 2-star. I forgot about this, but there's a part in this book where the main character's talking to Marie Laveau. Yes, Marie Laveau. Okay, so basically, spoiler warning. Why are you here, though, if you don't want spoilers? In this book, Kat finds out that the government stole some of her eggs and fertilized them, and she has a daughter, and everyone in the vampire and ghoul communities is going to want that daughter dead because she is a hybrid vampire ghoul human, and for some reason, that's a bad thing, and everyone's terrified of it. So she's talking to Marie Laveau, And she tells Marie Laveau that if she thinks that if she remembers the torment her people went through when they were enslaved, then she will agree to help her daughter, because it's not fair for her daughter to be targeted for her race. And while that, yeah, okay, that's a spin on it, telling a black person that the entirety of their race's history of torment and abuse is equivalent to one little girl maybe dying is a bad look, let's say.
It's the end of the vlog. What did you read this week? Or this last 2 weeks? This vlog went on 2 weeks.
I read Middle Game by Sean McGuire, Flashpoint Paradox, a Killer Croc compilation, Dead Romantics. That's what I read.
What did I read?
We're not going to talk about my kid. Look at this, barely holding.
I read, what did I read? I read Bitten. I read Magic Bites. And I also, earlier today, while I was doing another free roam, I finished Dark Fever, which I gave 3 stars. I like it pretty well. It has a couple of issues, like starting with the author does this thing where it's like every chapter the character says, and later I would know this, or one day this would mean something, and it's just like, I hate that. It comes up so frequently. She does it at least once a chapter, and and I just don't care for it. It throws me out of story. I hated that. But there's some realistic stuff, some frustrating stuff. And the end was kind of lame. But yeah, 3 stars for me.
Oh my god.
What are you reading next week?
I'm going to read Lockley, Her Last Rites. Oh, she's holding my hand. She's holding my hand.
This is the 3rd time you've made that joke.
Oh,
At the end of a vlog.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
I refuse to
I have
believe I've
video
ever
evidence.
made that joke before.
I have video evidence.
I'm gonna read Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey?
Yeah.
I'm gonna read Lockley, Her Last Rites. What else am I gonna read? Jesus Christ. I guess I'm gonna read the Princess and the Scoundrel Star Wars book about Leia and Han getting married. Possibly The Lovely War by, I can't read that. Is it Julie Berry? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to read, but I am going to pet this rat. Do you want to come out? Do you want to come out and say goodbye to the folks at home? Not you, Spectre. No, not you. Not you. Not you, you little monkey. Oh my god.
Alright, I'll probably continue on with the series as I'm currently working through. And maybe read Lattes and Legends. Legends and Lattes?
What about Lockley?
She's very cute. We'll see you in the next one.
What about Lockley? Say goodbye.